They were the makers and enslavers of that life, and above all doubt the originals of the fiendish elder myths, which things like the narcotic manuscripts and the Necronomicon affrightedly hint about. They were the great, old ones that had filtered down from the stars when Earth was young, the beings whose substance an alien evolution had shaped, and whose powers were such as this planet had never bred.
CTHULHUWEEN has been quite the ride, and I want to thank you all for joining me. It's been my pleasure to share with you some Lovecraftian subclasses for the game Dungeons & Dragons. And I've learned so much from this endeavor. I've learned that not every Lovecraft story had to deal with Cthulhu and its slimy, naked aberrations, that the word nincompoop actually existed back in the year 1932, and because I had to rely on the thesaurus, just like HP, to write my scripts, I finally got to learn complicated words that made me sound smart, like non-Euclidean, ichthyaic, batrachian, kickapoo, but there's still much more to talk about. I've only scratched the viscous-covered surface of the D&D's great old ones. Thanks to the DM's Guild's yearly Cthulhu bundles and my daily drives through Reddit, I've managed to collect a vast amount of great old one inspired adventures, spells, creatures, items, dragons, dungeons, lighthouses, words, everything and everyone. Everything and everyone is here! So I'm going to go over every piece of Eldridge / Lovecraft / Cthulhu themed homebrew content that I've collected or discovered over the last few years. The links to everything in this video will be in the description below, as well as my previous CTHULHUWEEN episodes. But before we get to the homebrew itself, let's talk about the man responsible for their existence. If you want the best references for a Lovecraft campaign or character, then there's no better place to go than the written word of Lovecraft himself, which can all be found on the internet for free. Since all of Lovecraft's work is public domain, you could find his entire catalog on hplovecraft.com if you want to read them. And you can find dozens of audiobooks for each of his stories here on YouTube, such as the esoteric swoonings of Horrorbabble, which I've used snippets of for CTHULHUWEEN.
There ought to be some excuse for offering a new drink, though it won't take much planning to fool those moonstruck nincompoops.
If they're listening, please don't sue me. It's incredibly easy to access Lovecraft's material, but it's not so easy to decide which ones to start off with. Well, that's why I'm here, to push you all in the right direction. After reading a majority of his work in preparation for CTHULHUWEEN, I've put a few lists of stories together based on their theme, just in case there's something specific you're looking for. To start, we got some professional recommendations of Lovecraft's most famous works. These picks come from the Lovecraft subreddit, which I 100% agree with all of them, except for The Whisperer in Darkness, because at the time of recording, it's one of the few that I've not read yet. If I have after this recording, I'll make a note of it and I'll edit it into the list.
Moon, sun, oh, remind me of your grace.
So instead, I replaced it with Dagon, which I think is the best introduction to Lovecraft literature. They're all great adventures about man's grave encounters with the great old ones. And for the best part, they're all short stories. Most of the Lovecraft audiobooks are about an hour or less long, with the longest one running around 5 hours, and the shortest one running at 6 minutes. You can read through most of my recommendations in a single day, so it should take no time at all to get accommodated to Lovecraft's world. If you have no preference and just want to experience good old Eldritch shenanigans, then these 6 are the best ones for the job. Dagon, the Dunwich Horror, The Shadow over Innsmouth, The Color Out of Space, At the Mountains of Madness, and The Call of Cthulhu. If you're looking for tales about terrible family lineages, horrific curses, and the attempted journeys made to cure them, then these 6 will do the trick. The Hound, The Curse of Yig, The Alchemist, The Color Out of Space, Facts Concerning the Late Arthur Germain and His Family, and The Rats in the Walls. Each of these stories deal with the struggles of overcoming an otherworldly affliction, like the meteorite's plague from The Color Out of Space, or from an artifact that was stolen from a Tomb Raider's grave in The Hound. So if you want to create a tragic backstory involving a cursed heritage for your character, or if you want to create an adventure or one-shot about discovering and overcoming a curse, then I would highly recommend these titles for inspiration. The next selection of tales are all about strange occurrences. These are stories that have a character uncovering a mystery, from either mysterious journals to rumors from around town, or from individuals calling for aid. The Dreams in the Witch House and The Strange House in the Mist both deal with houses with mysterious origins that townsfolk either avoid or ponder about its unknown residents and contents, while stories like Pickman's Model, From Beyond, and The Man of Stone deal with mysterious figures that might have a terrifying secret or invention. The titles on this list: The Statement of Randolph Carter, The Man of Stone, From Beyond, The Strange High House in the Mist, Pickman's Model, and The Dreams in the Witch House would be excellent references for conjuring adventures about local legends or mysterious and sinister plots. Then we got the Dreamscape stories, which I've talked about briefly in my overview of the Eldritch Domain subclass. These are tales about people traveling to visually stunning and frightening worlds when they fall asleep, and having visions or encounters with eldritch deities and their realms. This list is mainly for people that want to build their own Lovecraftian worlds and locations, like the Plateau of Lang, the City of Celephas, or Kadath, the domain of the Great Ones. I'm putting At the Mountains of Madness on here as well, because while it isn't a tale set in the Dreamlands, it does feature plenty of terrifying and elaborate descriptions of a deserted city that is excellent to use as a reference when creating your own accursed locations. Overall, the stories that can help you create these otherworldly vistas include Polaris, The White Ship, Celephas, The Crawling Chaos, The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, and At the Mountains of Madness. And lastly, I wanted to make a quick list of some of my personal favorite stories from Lovecraft. These cover a wide range of themes. You got Great Old One stories in Call of Cthulhu and the Dunwich Horror. You got horror mysteries with The Statement of Randolph Carter and The Dreams in the Witch House. You get a terrific Freaky Friday scenario starring cultists in The Thing on the Doorstep, and you get a strange fairy tale about cats in The Cats of Ulthar. Everyone's got their own personal favorites from Lovecraft, so if you do, please let me and the others know which ones are your favorites down in the comments below. Let's move on from Lovecraft's own adventures to adventures inspired by Lovecraft for Dungeons & Dragons. Most of these are paid products, so I won't cover everything about them, but I'll provide some details and highlights about each of their contents, and I'll be ordering them by their player level recommendations, so that you can play through many of these in one campaign. This is also a good time to mention that I'm terrible with names and pronunciations, so I want to apologize in advance if I pronounce the creator's name or product incorrectly. In addition, a lot of these homebrews come with their own rules on how to run madness in D&D. If the module comes with those rules, I'll list them at the end of each overview, along with some details about the module, such as who made it and where you can find them. First off, The Curious Case of the Calm Delilah takes your party onto a high seas excursion to locate the missing ship, the Calm Delilah, and its missing and very rich supplies. This will take your level 1 players up to level 3 as they search for the ship and discover the secrets and undead forces that surround it. While the adventure calls it a Saltmarsh adventure, you can fine-tune it to have it fit into any setting. That's something you can't do with the horror part of the title, however, as death and scares hide around every corner, as well as the worst kind of aberrants, evil monkeys.
Monkey.
It comes with plenty of useful maps and resources for the DM to use, including a recreated captain's log that the players can immerse themselves in and use it to uncover clues throughout the adventure. If you're planning a Saltmarsh campaign, or if you just want to run a short horror version of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie, the good one, then I would highly recommend this cruise ride. The Curious Case of the Calm Delilah can be found on the DM's Guild, and was created by Val Cyrene. After the sailing trip through Saltmarsh, you can now sail through the Shadow Marshes of Eberron in Blackwater Redux, an Eberron campaign. This has been described as a dark, hopeless adventure with strong horror notes, and was inspired by Apocalypse Now, The Heart of Darkness, and The Call of Cthulhu. So this is a great game to run for kids! In this, the players go on a military expedition through the swamps of Blackwater and the Vile Marsh to stop the manufacture of the drug Shadow Tar and fight off mysterious illnesses, cultish tribes, and madness. Just like the Calm Delilah, this can take place in any setting, so you don't have to use Eberron as its primary location. This is one of the more mature adventures in this set, so you should let your players know ahead of time of its contents before setting off. This adventure will take your players from level 1 to level 5, and was created by Christian Eckhorn from the DM's Guild. Now we'll go from the darkest adventure to the lightest adventure, with everyone's favorite kind of one-shot, a holiday special. A very aberrant holiday special takes your level 3 players to a relaxing holiday trip to the town of Pinemere, only to have it interrupted by the descent of the Spirit of the Season, who is an aberrant Santa Claus that has some lovely presents for everyone currently present. If you want a great Old One themed holiday game and fight off some nightmarish Christmas creations, then go check out this simple and fun one-shot from Kyle Carty from the DM's Guild. Up next is back in my home turf of Reddit, with another Lovecraftian one-shot. The Haunting of Chesterfield, created by Reddit user DM Piggy, will send your level 3 players to Chesterfield, another goo-infested town. There, they'll learn of an ancient idol that has been brought into the town, and of its grasp amongst the populace. This adventure has more involvement from the Great Old Ones than most do, with whispers of Cthulhu and his visions and priests lurking in the town's shadows. This is a free one-shot to scoop up, so I would highly recommend getting it if you want to try out a heavy, goo-themed one-shot for your party. Next, we got another intense horror adventure called Domain of the Nameless God. Players of 3rd level must stop the return of a sealed ancient god while fighting off its horrific forces and allies, including the mysterious Silent One. This adventure is made to weaken your players throughout the entire ordeal, as the enemy will attempt to prevent the players from taking any long rests to recover. If you want to scare your players through limited resources and terrifying horrors, then the Domain of the Nameless God is for you. This adventure was created by Travis Vengroff and Ashley Michelle Navigator Lawson from the DM's Guild, and you can witness more of this adventure with their podcast, Dark Dice. After your party goes up to level 4, they should test out their new feats and ability score improvements with a non-violent, peaceful voyage across the trackless sea. In this new adventure, It Sleeps Beneath the Waves, players travel with a group of pirates to locate and retrieve a treasure lost in the open sea. Upon recovery of their prize, they'll soon learn of its otherworldly horrors, and the crew must figure out who's real and who's not. This The Thing-based tale comes packed with a wide range of trustful and untrustful crewmates, shocking twists and turns, creature stats for the horror and the true horror, and a fitting Linkin Park reference. It Sleeps Beneath the Waves can be found in the DM's Guild. It was created by Isaac Mandegree and Sita AF. If your crew has survived the previous venture out in the waters, then you all should make a pit stop at the Lamenting Lighthouse. For this journey, the players arrive at an isolated island north of the Moonshale Isles to reactivate the light on top of its lighthouse. But there's more to this simple island than meets the eye. Despite this being a one-shot, there's plenty to do while the party stays there, and it will lead to other plot hooks and encounters, especially if you're running a Saltmarsh campaign. Also, you might get the chance to encounter the famous Dread Pirate Roberts. The Lamenting Lighthouse can be found in the DM's Guild, and was created by Sven Truckenbrunt. While you're at sea, you can also head off to the madness of the Misty Cove, as you once again set sail to another mysterious island to uncover its secrets. A turtle named Argo has informed the party of a dragon's horde on a mysterious island, but he won't mention everything else that comes up before you reach that horde. But that's okay, we can find all that out on the internet. This adventure will take your level 5 players and get them up to level 10, which makes sense considering everything you'll be facing on this journey. It also comes with new items and 2 new subraces, the Dragon Turtle and the Savannah Tabaxi. Madness of the Misty Cove can be found in the DM's Guild and was created by David Hardy. If you're not a fan of high seas horrors, then let's do some on land ones instead. Smoke on the Water is a level 6 one-shot where your party must locate a missing spellcaster who's discovered the location of a pregnant ancient old one. You'll be asking yourselves questions like, what will happen if a great old one baby is born? What will the party do once they find it and its followers? Will the baby taste better with salt or pepper? Find all that out and more in Smoke on the Water, which can be found in the DM's Guild and was created by Elvin Tower. Most of these adventures are inspired by Lovecraft's themes and monsters, but how about one that has the author himself in it? When Madness Calls is another level 6 one-shot where your party must search for the missing horror fiction author, Hubert Pierre Loretz. However, the party must soon discover that his fictional creations might actually be very, very non-fictional. It features plenty of references to Lovecraft's work, like Dreams in the Witch House and the history of the Necronomicon, and who knows, maybe you'll interact with the infamous author himself and inform him politely about his shameful views.
You ain't nothing but garbage.
When Madness Calls can be found in the DM's Guild and was created by Isaac Mandery, the same author as the previous adventure, It Sleeps Beneath the Waves. And I think I mispronounced his name twice. Now it's time for the higher levels of D&D, level 17 and higher to be exact. They Came from the Deep takes your powerful adventurers and face them off with a powerful Illithilich, who operates in the corpse of a dead titan, seeking to create the ultimate weapon, a 10th level spell. The party will fight against the strongest aberrations, monstrosities, and undead creatures around, and it will surely make for an excellent challenge. This is the second part of the Pretty Little Liches trilogy, which can be run individually or all together for an epic late-game mini-campaign. They Came from the Deep and the Pretty Little Liches trilogy can be found in the DM's Guild, and were all created by Zeke Gonzalez. Lastly, but certainly not least, is one of the most popular homebrew campaigns on the DM's Guild, Call from the Deep. After an otherworldly ship crash lands in the material plane, a lowly band of heroes go on an epic adventure to prevent a sinister plot and its deviant, Illithid forces. Clocking in at 270 pages, this module is filled with unique NPCs, new character races like Merfolk and the Lobsterfolk, Aldani, new feats like Underwater Archer and Netmaster, new magic items like a Call of Cthulhu-like idol, new types of Illithids and aberrations to face, maps, Shoggoths, Icewind Dale, Monkey, and most importantly, tentacles. Your players will go from level 1 all the way to level 10 in this adventure, and it gives you some room to go on other side quests and one-shots. So you can add some high seas adventures and holiday specials into this campaign. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the quality of this adventure is equal to many other staple D&D campaigns. It's really that good. Call from the Deep can be found in the DM's Guild and was created by JCV Perry.
Here we go in a parade unto our meeting place. Neighbors go in masquerade, so waxy in the face. And what's best of all, is you'll join our festival. And God bless you and help you to come with us to pray. Yes, God help you to come with us to pray.
If you already have an adventure set for your party, but would like to add some more Eldritch tools and rules to it, then this section is for you. We'll start off with some smaller stuff, and then we'll work our way out to the massive Lovecraftian compendiums. Let's start with a possible problem that DMs might have in their adventures. What is the Far Realm exactly? What's the history, the lore, its inhabitants, just anything about it? Well, you can look in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide on page 139 for less than half of a page for your answers, or you can do what I normally do, and go to Reddit to solve all of your problems. Reddit user Veransel wrote an excellent article about the basics of the Far Realm, the way that it is used in previous editions, bios on some of D&D's original old ones, and much more. It's a quick, easy read to get a good grasp at what you can expect in a trip to the Far Realms. Next, let's look at the creatures of the Great Old Ones, just in case you want to add even more Eldritch monstrosities in your adventures. Robert Gresham from the DM's Guild released 2 small but free Lovecraftian Bestiaries, each one coming with 4 monstrosities based on Lovecraft stories, such as Rat Thing from Dreams in the Witch House, the Spawn of Yog-Sothoth from the Dunwich Horror, and the Color Out of Space from, well, the Color Out of Space. Nicolas Cage is not included though. If you're looking for a bigger challenge to throw at your players, then here's the arena guy again to solve it for you with one of his creations, Aberrant Dragons. These dragons have been transformed by a powerful aberration, gaining unique properties and abilities, such as maddening presence and psychic detection. Coming in with a challenge rating of 26, these gargantuan aberrations are quite possibly the scariest kinds of dragons to come across. This is also free to use and it can be found on Reddit. If we head back to the DM's Guild, we can find the Pseudonatural Creature Template by Jeremy Forbing. This is a simple guide to making your own unique aberrations, giving you suggestions on which spells the creatures can cast and what kind of features the creature may have. It will come with 2 examples to start you off, the Black Dog and another version of the Rat Thing. If you need help making your own pseudo-natural creatures, then come take a look at this template. With all of these creatures running around, you'll eventually have a player ask you if they can play as 1 or 2 of them. And begrudgingly, you can now say yes, thanks to the Half-Farspawn player race by Meloskaweki. I am so sorry if I butchered this name. As a Farspawn, you are the product of a union between a humanoid and an abnormal being, inheriting alien features and a conflicted dual nature. It comes with 5 subraces, 3 feats, and the most important trait of all. This race can be found at the DM's Guild. But if your players don't want to play as a humanoid Farspawn and instead want to play as something more monstrous, like a 7-foot long psionic worm, then you could begrudgingly say yes to that request as well. Found in the Random Races Compendium by Aidan Lee, the worms are called Anurids, an intelligent race who's connected to the peaceful Illithids. They don't possess any sub-races or feats, but they come with unique traits like Siphon Knowledge, which lets them leech knowledge from a creature, learning one of their languages and some of their hidden lore. The Compendium comes with 7 races, like the Axel and the Beetlefolk, and can be found at the DM's Guild. I also want to say thank you to Aidan Lee for reaching out to me about this guide, which you all can do by contacting me through my email or through my Farmers Only account. Also at the DM's Guild, you'll find the answer to a common D&D question. I'm looting the corpses of all of these innocent Mindflayers that I've burned to a crisp with a fireball spell, then use their bodies as projectiles against the other Mindflayers that have succeeded on the fireball saving throw. What do I find in their charred, crispy, and horribly tasty pockets? That's a common question everyone's asked before. What's it got in its pockets is, Mindflayers can help you with that situation, as it comes with random item tables that can determine what your players will find on their bodies. You can find several magic items, like a scroll of command or a pair of eyeballs that allow you to glimpse another creature's surface emotions, but only while you're chewing on the eyeballs. Or you could find keepsakes from their previous form, which could be a simple trinket or a potential plot hook. This and its alternative versions can be found on the DM's Guild and was created by George Sutherland Howard. Next, let's talk about an underused mechanic in D&D, diseases, since most of them can be cured with simple magic spells. But what if they couldn't be removed that easily? These kinds of diseases can be found in the Malady Codex on the DM's Guild. These are a series of supplements that were written by real-life medical students, and they contain new rules on running diseases in D&D, and feature new adventures centered on these diseases. We won't be going over all of them today, but I want to focus on a specific one, called the Malady Codex 2, Diseases of the Mind. These deal with diseases that can infect the human psyche, and each of the 10 presented here are thoroughly detailed, as they all come with origins, causes, symptoms, diagnosis, cures, and plot hooks. For example, the fugue state infection occurs when an illithid maggot enters a creature's body and begins to work its way to the brain over the course of 3 days. The guide will explain what changes will occur to the host during those 3 days, what roles are needed in order to learn about it, and how to cure it, which involves drinking a lot of poisons. Some other diseases include chicken soup, Cthulhu's wrath, and voices in my head, which also comes with a list of potential voices that could be speaking to you through your brain part. If you want to try this out before investing, there's a free preview of it called the Malady Codex, Mindflayer Danger, which comes with the fugue state disease and another dragon aberrant hybrid called the Brain Stealer Dragon. The Malady Codex 2, Diseases of the Mind, was created by Jason Bakos and Themis Paraviscus. Like I said, I'm bad with names, I am so sorry. Next up is the Relics of the Great Old Ones, which provides numerous idols, amulets, and artifacts that are related to Lovecraft's original Old Ones. You'll find items based on Azathoth, Cthulhu, Dagon, Nyarlathotep, and Yog-Sothoth. Wielding these items can grant you powerful boons, but they'll also grant you Eldritch Corruption, which can bring you closer to these Old Ones, which could be a good thing or a bad thing depending on your point of view. Relics of the Great Old Ones can be found on the DM's Guild and was created by Christopher Harding. The next 2 modules will add more Eldritch and Psychic spells to your campaign. Mind Magic, Codex 1 of the Echidna Mysteria, and Spells from the Far Realm. Mind Magic will come with 25 new spells, most of which are enchantment and illusion spells. One of my favorites is Fool's Dwemer, which causes a creature to believe that you successfully cast a different spell on them. The spell could be of your own choosing, so if you want them to believe that you just cast Fear or Dominate Person on them, the target will absolutely believe you on that, and will behave accordingly to those spell effects, even though they're not under them at all. In Spells from the Far Realm, you'll gain 101 new spells, as well as new rules on running sanatoriums, which can be used to help low-level characters recover from powerful conditions or become a setting for a horrific adventure. One of my favorite spells here is Corpse Jacket, which merges your body with a corpse of a recently deceased creature, assuming 100% of its appearance, voice, natural abilities, and any stab wounds that caused the creature's death in the first place. This is just a crazier version of Disguised Self or Anime Dead. Mind Magic and Spells from the Far Realm can be found on the DM's Guild, and both of them were created by Mark Lord Rumfish Burton, with Tim S. credited as an additional author on Spells from the Far Realm. Next is Mark of the Vestige, which dives into a series of mysterious deities called Vestiges, who reign over their private corners of the cosmos. Based on 3.5 edition's Vestige rules, this supplement will allow players to make pacts with these Vestiges by performing a special ritual. Depending on the success of the ritual, and if you had the correct requirements to perform it, the Vestige will grant exclusive features and may watch over the party as an angel on their shoulder, or as a devil waiting to collect their dues. For example, Otiax, the key to the gate, is a dark creature from the Far Realm, who can be contacted easily during a ritual if the party provides keys and their matching locks for it. If successful, the party will meet Otiax, who is locked behind a golden gate and covered in a fog. While Otiax doesn't have any known motives, it doesn't like it when locks remain closed, so it might compel a player to always unlock doors, chests, rooms, practically anything with a lock in order to keep it satisfied. Otiax will provide numerous powers to assist you with lockpicking, such as Open Portal, which will allow you to open any port that's within 30 feet of you as a bonus action. Otiax will also provide you combat abilities, such as Air Blast, a unique gust attack option, and combat reflexes, which allows you to make a number of opportunity attacks equal to your dexterity modifier each round. With 32 Vestiges to choose from, there's plenty of deities to work with here, like Valiance, the First Gunslinger, Ipos, the Prince of Fools, and me. Mark of the Vestige can be found on the DM's Guild. It was created by ERF Jordan. Speaking of ERF Jordan, ERF also released a bundle on the DM's Guild called Eldridge Masters, which contains 5 supplements, with some containing plenty of goo-related material. In Madness of Zoriat, you'll learn more lore about 8 new Great Old Ones that can be found in Eberron, along with details about their lair and their stat sheets. It comes with a new player race, the Dalkir, an arcanic test subject that has been mixed with a type of monster, including Illithids and Beholders. It comes with the Symbiote Warlock Patron subclass, which has you gain your powers from a creature implanted inside of you by an aberration. Speaking of symbiotes, there's also Horde of Symbiotes, which comes with 24 symbiotes that can be attuned to the player, either by attaching them onto your body at all times, or by eating it and granting the player powerful magic items, weapons, and benefits. In the Book of Patrons, you'll gain 6 new Warlock subclasses: the Apocalypse Incarnate Patron, the Ancient Dragon Patron, the Cold-Hearted Patron, the Grimoire Patron, the Nightingale Patron, and the Dream Eater Patron, which would work well with influences from Lovecraft's dreamscape stories. In the Vault of the Warlock, you can find 22 new magic items for Warlocks, including the Rod of Hadar, which is a metal tendril that will rest on your arm like a bracer, and will let you cast Hadar spells with ease. Forbidden Spells will add 26 new spells to your spellbook, like Nightmare Terrain, Dominate Thrall, and Spying Skull, which creates a magical sensor in a skull, and it'll let you see and talk through it. The final one, Eldritch Workshop, includes 30 Eldritch machines to build in an Eberron campaign, but despite the name, the goo aren't related to this one at all, so that's all I'll say about it. But at least it comes with a tree. All these can be obtained separately or all together in the Eldridge Masters bundle on the DM's Guild. Now let's go bigger and talk about 2 compendiums that feature a variety of resources. The first one, Eldridge Expansion, is exactly that. In Eldridge, this comes with more lore about the goo, including stat sheets for their aspects so your players can actually fight these beings, like Cthulhu and Dendar, and a new version of the Necronomicon, called the Codex Anathema, which holds the greatest insights into the Far Realm and the Great Old Ones. It comes with new magic items, 24 Eldritch invocations, 25 spells, monsters, and 2 new races, the Eldritch Scion and the Rogue Illithid. And of course, this comes with new subclasses and even a new class. The Eldritch Warden is a new player class that feels like an alternate martial fighter option for the Warlock, as it makes a pact with a higher being and uses it to slay all foes before it. The subclasses featured here include the Path of Abomination, the College of Unearthly Drone, the Eldritch Discipline Domain, the Slayer Rogue, the Archangel Patron, another version of the Genie Patron, the Reaper Patron, the Eldritch Thurge Wizard, and the School of Voodoo Wizard. There's a lot of useful pieces here and there in this set to use for any campaign setting, so there's something here for everybody to check out. Eldritch Expansion can be found on the DM's Guild and was created by Toby Lothar. The second compendium is called the Aberration Hunter's Handbook, and it's quite different from Eldritch Expansion. This is part player guide, part DM rulebook, and part world building supplement. This handbook is separated into 6 chapters, each describing a group of heroes that fight aberrations. There's the Circle of the True, who are a group of druids that hunt down aberrations. The Dark Runner Guild, whose members work as guides through the Underdark and for spying. The Flesh Warpers, who are masters of grafting flesh onto their allies to enhance them. The Cerulean Sign, which is separated into 2 factions. One infiltrates cults to destroy them, while the other searches for a possible savior. The Society of the Sanctified Mind, who are psionic warriors that eliminate those that abuse psionic power for evil. And the Topaz Order, an organization of crusaders that protect the material plane from otherworldly terrors. Each chapter comes with the group's backstories, missions, potential plot hooks, and player options, so that players can partake in their aberrant hunting goals. The Dark Runner Guild and the Society of the Sanctified Mind will each come with a subclass, the Dark Runner Ranger and the Sanctified Mind Fighter. The Circle of the True and the Cerulean Sign will add new spells and feats. The Flesh Warpers are unique, however. Since the group can teach anybody the art of grafting, they can teach that to the players as well. Grafting is essentially a body mutation, granting the player unique abilities based on the flesh that was stitched onto them. There are 6 categories of grafts, each of them based on an aberration or on a planar creature. And yes, tentacles are an option. So if you're looking for organizations that hunt down aberrations, or if you're looking out for ways to flesh out your campaign world and adventures, then come read the Aberration Hunter's Handbook. This can be found on the DM's Guild, and it was created by Jacob Driscoll.
Said the night gone to young HPL. Do you dream what I dream? Do you dream what I dream? In the dark of night, HPL. Do you dream what I dream? Do you dream what I dream? A beast, clutching you so tight, with a face as black as the night. With a face as black as the night.
HPL said to old Farnsworth, right? Do you feel what I feel?
Do you feel what I feel?
Nick Tales editor Farnsworth, right? Do you feel what I feel?
Do you feel what I feel?
A god waiting to be free, with a voice as deep as the sea. With a voice as deep as the sea.
Said Cthulhu to the human beings, do you know what I know? Do you know what I know? The stars soon will be in line. I shall reclaim that which was mine. I shall reclaim that which was mine.
And finally, as a staple of my D&D videos, here comes more subclasses. Oh god, I don't feel so good. Although I've talked about numerous Lovecraftian subclasses already, those weren't all the ones that were out there. So, for the last leg of this race, I'll be briefly going over some more Eldritch and Goo themed subclasses. Since we're currently riding high on compendiums, let's keep it going with some more subclass collections. The first 2 compendiums are from Malady, the same creator that created the Half-Farspawn race, and the one whose name I keep butchering to death. I am so sorry. Those Lost in Madness features 4 subclasses, inspired by the wonders of the Far Realm. The Path of the Meat Shaper is a barbarian that can alter their physical body with a wide range of deformations, like cosmic wings, gibbering mouths, and eyes of weird hunger. The Cosmic Domain is another take at an Eldritch Cleric, this time focusing on cursing conditions and debuffs onto their enemies, and even forcing them to spend their precious reactions to attacking you. The Circle of the Blot is a clan of druids imbued with a Subrotic Blot, aka the Goo of the Goo, and they can spread it like a plague to the environment and to their adversaries. And then there's the Far Lurker, a rogue that excels at picking off isolated targets with fear and a buffed up sneak attack. Next, let's take a look at those born from the Preternatural, the second compendium from Malady, with Isaac May credited as an additional creator. Not only does this come with 4 more subclasses, it also comes with 1 new background, 11 new spells, and 4 new creatures. The Bardic College of Horizons teaches the bards to speak certain eldritch words that can cause creatures to scream and wail in fright and confusion. The Comet Juggernaut is a fighter that has been empowered by a Far Realm Comet, granting them new actions known as Comet Stances. Rangers of the Gibberish Pilgrim travel the world to spread the corruption of the Old Ones, and even use it to grow spike-like appendages to act as javelins. And finally, as a wizard of the Cerebrant Arcane tradition, you'll learn those new 11 spells, like Call the Far Realm Horror and Devour Magic, and gain special benefits when casting them. Those Lost in Madness and Born from the Preternatural can be found on the DM's Guild. And if you want to learn more about these player options, the creators posted that you can preview both of them for free, so that you can see them in their entirety before investing in them. The next two compendiums aren't entirely goo focused, but there's a little room in each that was reserved for us goo fanatics. And in one of them, you can actually be a Far Realm fanatic, with the Occultist class in the Tome of the Far Traveler. Occultists are half-casters that can perform ancient rites, which grants two abilities, a simple component that provides a small buff, and a complex component that can provide a strong ability that can be used once per rest, along with a resource pool called Sanity Points, which is required for spellcasting, and a subclass that is entirely devoted to the old ones. This is an excellent way to play as a Lovecraftian cultist. This guide also contains another player class, the Accursed, 13 subclasses, like the College of Sorrow Bard and the Gentleman Rogue, 3 new otherworldly races, 67 spells, and 13 creatures. Tome of the Far Traveler can be found on DriveThruRPG and was created by Bartslav Fizug, who also reached out to me to tell me about this guide. So thank you for letting me know about this ahead of time so that I can add this to this incredibly long Lovecraftian compilation video. And I am terribly sorry that I don't know how to say your name. The other compendium is the Yggdrasil Class Compendium by Reddit user Bartholomew T. Squire. In this guide, there are 13 subclasses that were inspired by many forms of media, like the Empty Vessel Rogue, which is based on Hollow Knight, and the Sword Origin Sorcerer, which is based on the guy from the Fate series that just figured out how death works. Included in this package are 3 different Eldritch empowered subclasses. The Radiant one, which is based on the cosmic entity from the Dreamlands in H.P. Lovecraft's Beyond the Wall of Sleep, the Eternity Collective, which plugs you into the first and greatest of Elder Brains, becoming an agent for its mysterious goals, and with the third patron, you can serve the greatest and cutest of the old ones, Chibi Thulu. As its servant, you'll distribute fear with your newfound cuteness, and travel the lands with a strange, sentient doll that speaks of terrifying secrets and rituals. It's a silly and quite possibly catastrophic alternative to the Great Old One Warlock subclass. I'm sure that's going to be the only one that I talk about for the rest of the video. Huh, why did that just pop up? I wonder what that can mean! As proven by those lost in madness and born from the preternatural, there are a variety of ways to play as a Lovecraftian adventurer, especially ones that aren't tied to spellcasting and warlocks. Reddit user Not the Smooths created one for the fighter, called the Voidbringer. As a warrior empowered by mystical entities deep in the sea, you can summon plenty of tentacles and eldritch idols onto the battlefield to strike fear and doom at your enemies. And when I say tentacles, I mean it. 4 of the 5 features in this subclass all deal with tentacles. This can be found on Reddit, and thanks to Yorving for letting me know about this subclass. If you want another barbarian of the old ones, then take a look at the Path of Madness. While those under the Path of the Outer Gate excel at inflicting disadvantages and madness effects, the Path of Madness grants your rage plenty of bonuses, such as resistance to psychic damage, the ability to impose disadvantage on attack rolls to your target, and even allowing you to freely cast the Contact Other Plane spell while raging. The Path of Madness subclass can be found on the DM's Guild and was created by Pilari Federico. For the rogues, we got the Eldritch Hand archetype, created by Reddit user JP_. This subclass is an alternate version of the Arcane Trickster Rogue, as it lets you make a pact with a patron and gain some special warlock perks. It's basically a rogue that mixed with a warlock, but you don't have to worry about the troubles of multiclassing and just worry about which invocations to nab from the warlock while they're not looking. If you're still looking for full-on spellcasting cultists, then these 2 subclasses are for you. The first one is the Druid's Circle of the Far Realm by Reddit user Craig_DND. These druids can not only transform themselves into aberrant monsters with their wild shape, but they can summon corpse-born horrors out of the bodies of recently deceased creatures, creating a small army for yourself to command and conquer. The second one actually comes from a fellow homebrew D&D YouTuber, the Copper Fox Inn's School of Madness Arcane Tradition for the Wizard. This study grants you many powerful psychic and eldritch powers to unleash at your enemies, but at the cost of your sanity and potentially your life. They even made an excellent video going over it, which can be found in the description below. And to end things off, just like certain official subclasses and classes, especially ones that rhyme with rangers, sometimes people will revise them to either make them more viable or have them operate differently than the original. And this is the case for the Great Old One Warlock. While many have used this with little difficulty, like myself, some creators wanted to make some adjustments to it, primarily to its late game features. I played as one from level 1 all the way to level 20, and I can confirm that I rarely used Thought Shield and Create Thrall. They were just really situational and I just never used them. So there are many revisions of the Great Old One Warlock, along with some that grant entirely different abilities if you serve a specific Elder Being, just like the previous Chibi-Thulu patron. So instead of talking about every single one in detail, let's do a quick montage of going over all the ones that I found, along with some chthonic cheer. I wanna die.
Well, go summon. Wake the dead ones. Well, go summon. The dead ones. I said, go summon. Up the dead go ones. Summon. From essential souls. Go summon. Wake the dead ones. Well, chanting the rites of Yog-Sothoth. Go summon up the dead ones. From essential souls. Yes, go summon up the dead ones. From the pits of Lacnakai, go summon up the dead ones, but don't let it go awry. Go summon, said to go summon, don't let it go awry. Oh children, let my story begin. We spend our solstice with kin, but throughout these cold and icy nights, just beware of family fights if you want to study ancient lore. In your family's home from days of yore, you might think you'll learn the truth you crave from your ancestors beyond the grave. You want to go summon up the dead ones, chanting the rites of Yog-Sothoth. Go summon up the dead ones from essential souls. Yes, go summon up the dead ones from the pits of Lacnakai. Go summon up the dead ones, but don't let it go awry. Let some old progenitor creep through an unearthly door, and this old forefather once revived. He might just want to stay alive, so before you summon anyone, go and get yourself a loaded gun. Keep your candles burning all around, and be sure that you can put him down. That's if you go summon up the dead ones, chanting the rites of Yog-Sothoth. Summon up the dead ones from essential souls. Go summon up the dead ones from the pits of Lacnakai. Go summon up the dead ones, but don't let it go awry. No, don't let it go awry, or you'll die.
And with that, CTHULHUWEEN has come to an end. Thank you for watching. I hope I've entertained you with some newfound Eldritch lore, and hopefully you can use it across your mini campaigns and characters. 2020 was a hard year for many of us, but I hope my videos could help you escape from that cursed reality for the time being. This has been one of my many crunches that I relied on to survive 2020. Which is ironic, considering that all of Lovecraft's work is all about fear, madness, loss, nightmares, and anxiety. But through those accursed writings, I've discovered a safer, non-Euclidean crutch to lean on for the future, should it continue to be damned and miserable. I found a waifu.
Means Cthulhu rising out of the haze. It's a prophecy. We'll all soon see Cthulhu Pathagan